Ladies and gentlemen, it is 8:50, and you know what it means? It means it's time for us over here at New York Giants on SI to bring you our Hard Knock season or off season with the New York Giants watch party. I'm Coach Gene Clemons. Thank you for joining me. Wherever you are joining me, make sure that you make sure you subscribe to the New York Giants on SI YouTube page. And while you're at it, make sure that you are listening to and or watching a Giant issue Monday through Friday. Whenever it is that you decide that you want to, get your Giants content in. We start we either want to start your day or end your day. I have really appreciated the support so far from Big Blue Nation. I know that it'll continue to grow. We don't always agree, and that's the fun part, right? The fun part is that we don't always have to agree in order for us to just respect that we have a difference of opinion. I forgot who it was today, but somebody on Twitter had disagreed with what we were saying about Saquon. I think it was in my episode with Authentic, and we were talking about the Giants and how that all went down, and they were saying that they disagreed and that it was extenuating circumstances that led. And I'm like, well, or no, I remember what it was. He said that, if you look around at all the people who signed running backs to big money contracts, they've all regretted it. I don't look at the Saquon deal as a big money contract. So I don't think it applies because I don't think Philadelphia gave Saquon big money. I feel like the Giants gave Brian Burns big money. I don't feel like they gave Bobby Okereke big money. I think they got him for a steal, right? I think they gave Andrew Thomas big money. I think they gave Dexter Lawrence big money. I think they gave Daniel Jones big money. It might not be the biggest money that you can get at a quarterback position, but it was still big money. 12 million, 13 million, 14 million a year for a premier back. I do not believe that's big money. Now, obviously the argument is, well, positional value and blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, it should be how that position is valued to you and not how that position is valued around the league, right? You think that the Cowboys regret giving, giving big contracts to running backs? No. Why? Because they know that the football game is more than just about the wins and the losses. It's about the community, and it's about the look to the players. You know what players know about Dallas is that Dallas is going to pay you. If you perform for Dallas, Dallas is going to pay you. There's rarely been a time where you have performed for Dallas and Dallas said, thank you, go away. Right? If you perform in Dallas, they pay you. You can't say that about every team because every team is not operating under that same way. And you can say that it's to the detriment of Dallas if you want, right? I'll be willing to listen to that argument, but what you can't argue is they have one of the most impassioned fan bases in all of the NFL. Why? Because they pay their players. They get to grow up with players. They get to become ingratiated in their lives because they spend more than 3 and 4 and 5 years there. They spend 7 and 8 and 9 and 10 years with them. That's a significant portion of our lives. Think about this, if you will. The reason why there is such a love and such an appreciation for Eli Manning is because he spent so much time in blue. Many people have a significant portion of their life attached to Eli Manning. So that's always a great thing. Anyway, I digress. We are getting ready for episode 4, right? Episode 4 of Hard Knocks. We see the attention shifting to the draft. and what the Giants are looking to do in the draft. We saw the clips and Joe Shane over making deals, willing and dealing, possibly trying to get a quarterback. Seems really interesting to me, right? I'm going to talk about it on my on tomorrow's episode of A Giant Issue. You're not going to want to miss it because I wanted to comment on it before, and I really want to comment on it now, but I want to see it all play out before I start commenting. I think too many times, right? Content creators, media members, I am both want to be the first to say something about the clip, and they may not have seen the entire thing. Now, I do know that there are some members of the media who have gotten their hands on advanced copies of episodes. So right now, as we all get ready to watch at 9 o'clock, many of them have already seen this episode, and shout out to them. Like, I don't even want to be that. Like, even if I had the ability to watch it earlier, which I don't, but I know people who do, I wouldn't want to watch it early. I want to consume it the same way that you are consuming it, because I want to try to feel what you as a fan would feel if you're hearing this for the first time, and then I want to be able to respond in real time. So tomorrow on A Giant Issue, we'll be talking about these comments, and I'm gonna point out some things about what Joe Shane has said just in this Hard Knocks that does not seem to align. It does not seem to all like match up. So that's the one thing I'm really looking forward to. Shout out to JT. JT, what's up? Hey, trust me, I understand, man. When I was going through my master's classes, they were taking it out me, especially when I was working on my thesis, and I had to get my defense ready for my thesis. Like, that was a time. Like, so if you can't hang out for the entire time, I understand. I appreciate you being here as long as you can. I never expect anyone to just be able to hang out the entire time, because this is on YouTube. So if nothing else, go back and watch it later. Like, when I'm commenting on the things, remember, we are accompanying the video. So while you might hear my audio in the background sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, understand I can't like broadcast a thing. I'm not trying to get our YouTube channel canceled, or at least strikes against it. We'd like to, one day monetize this thing and do all of those good stuff. So but I'm really interested to see what's going into this next step. I want to see if they're really on Drake May, because there's so many people who just think it's a foregone conclusion that the Giants wanted Drake May. I go, yuck, right? In my opinion, you draft Drake May. Drake May is just another Daniel Jones. Like, nobody can point to anything that Drake May does better than Daniel Jones. He doesn't come off of the first read. He doesn't let it rip as much as he should with how live his arm is. He's just as athletic, and he makes just as many bonehead mistakes. So, like, everybody that was on the Drake May, I want to see if Drake May was real, because we saw that little clip where Brian Dable was saying that he would move up, to go get one of the other quarterbacks. And so I want to kind of see all of that play out, right? I want to see if it really was Drake May that they were trying to go get, or if it was, Jaden Daniels that they were trying to go get. I think it's important to know that, because I think it lends us to understand what type of team they were really looking to have. And so as we hit 9 o'clock, I'm going to go and reload my Max and see if we have it up yet. I always think it's interesting when you're looking for things that don't come out on a actual regular conventional television, and you're looking for episodes, and you're waiting for your apps to populate the episodes. You don't know if it's you don't know if it's them, you don't know if it's your internet. Like there's always something, but it seems like my internet is really on some demon time today. And hopefully I can get that taken care of. Get this thing back. Get this thing back working here in short order before I have a conniption fit out here. Once again, thank you to everyone who's joining us. Make sure that while I am delayed, that you guys go ahead and hit boom. Okay, now we got it. And of course, we've got commercials and everything because I'm poor, and that's how it goes. By the way, I don't know if y'all have one of these, but I was able to get one of those. That was on Jeter's last home game when they were giving out those cups. For all of you that don't know, I am a fan of sports. I'm a Yankees fan. I'm a Yankees fan, and it's hard to be a Yankees fan right now. Very difficult to be a Yankees fan right now, but we are who we are, right? We like it. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen.
On Hard Knocks. Williams, May, Daniels, JJ, we haven't been around those guys at all, so. I talk to my family, obviously. That's a big piece for me, my family. Time out. Give me that play call again that I taught you. Glenn Charlie Wright, 64, House, FN. All right, exit. Okay, good. That boy. New England's as far away as they can possibly be. You can take a trek down there? Yeah, I'm just going to put it on there. Just before you do anything at 3, just make sure you let us know. Yeah, you got 2 seconds. Saquon Barkley goes from the Giants to the.
We're getting all of the background of what's happened so far.
Is a done deal. Brian Burns too.
One of the things that I have enjoyed so far about this is that we've seen some of the personalities of the people in the front office. It's been a lot less about the players and been a lot more about the front office. And I think that's an interesting look to have. Okay, so we start off with seeing the guys work out. We're watching Daniel Jones work out.
Missed 17 games in 2 years already. 5, 4. For whatever reason, the neck and then the ACL, or since 20, I guess it'd be 21 a year before I got here because he had the neck in 21. Yeah. I said that's the reality of the situation, and we probably didn't play the way we wanted to play the first 6 games of the year, before you were injured. So I said we're going to go through it. Doesn't mean we're going to take one. We still believe in you.
So this is Joe Shane explaining to Mara, excuse me, that he told Daniel Jones, "Hey, we're going to look into a quarterback."
With you, and we'll have open lines of communication. Really, my guy has just been a little bit like a kite, just because the uncertainty of the quarterback situation. That's the hardest part in my seat right now. It's just you gotta have one.
So he's talking about early on. He's talking about, hey, and I actually think this is a great thing that Joe Shane did. If this in fact happened, I'm assuming it did, because he's telling the owners that this is what happened, right? he went to Daniel Jones and was straight up, hey, listen, man, you've missed a lot of games. We like you, but 17 games is a lot of games to miss in the first 2 seasons of us being together. And that doesn't even include all of your past. So I think keeping it 100 with Daniel Jones is definitely a good thing that Joe Schoen did. I want to give him props for that. Seems like the crew, the front office and head coach, that crew, the scouting people are all getting on a plane. They probably are heading wherever they're heading. Hey, I would say, like, to be a cameraman, like, on Hard Knocks must be really fun, but also really, like, annoying because you know so many things that you can't tell anybody about, right? You can't let the cat out of the bag on some of this. Okay, so they're showing them hop around for different pro days. Them talking with Penix. I think it's really interesting that he didn't mention Michael Penix in any of those people we like or the quarterbacks that we're looking into. I actually think that was probably a mistake. I think Penix has, like, that it about him, obviously, and then the arm strength as well, but then an elite level athleticism that he's never showed off because I don't think he wanted to be labeled as an athlete. He wanted to be labeled as a quarterback.
I wish him the best. He's a good kid. He was a blue player coming out. He went through a lot, and he stayed loyal, tried to lead our team as much as possible. Might end up being better for all involved.
Okay, scouts over there talking about Saquon and Saquon over there at the Penn State Pro Day.
So we got a couple free agents I think will help us. Yeah, I saw the Runyon kid from Green Bay, and then Illuminor is a kid that I've had. Jermaine's like one of those kids. I love him. Truly, he's one of those players that you say, like, hey.
First sighting of Carmen Brasillo.
He's my child.
Carmen Brasillo, of New England fame. He came up under some of the best offensive line coaches in the game ever. They're looking at Theo Johnson. They're at Penn State looking at Theo Johnson. Theo Johnson's a guy who physically looks the part. Unfortunate that he's on the PUP list already.
Decisions here in the draft. Well, we probably need a receiver. We probably need one of these linemen. Yeah. And then the decision on the quarterback is what everybody's talking about.
Interesting. Giants were at Notre Dame looking at Joe Alt. I hope Theo gets on the field soon as well. I think he needs to if he wants to be a factor this year. Head coach and GM go down to LSU to look at Neighbors and Daniels. I must admit to you guys, like, as a coach, this stuff has never been impressive to me. Watching guys run around in shorts and t-shirts, never been my thing. Because I know that things change when the pads come on. The good thing about both Jaden Daniels and Neighbors is that they both do it when the pads are on as well. Even right now, Brian Dable mentioning that, the film on Neighbors, like, is phenomenal. He's a dog on film. That's what it really matters. Beautiful cinematography, by the way, in this. These guys at Hard Knocks, they don't miss with the cinematography. Right? Like, it's fantastic. Malik Neighbors wearing Adidas. I think that's probably his biggest misstep. Is rocking Adidas cleats, but I don't know what he's going to do in the league. Hopefully, it's not that. That's just my own bias. I never liked the way the Adidas cleat performed. I was much more actually the Adidas as a performance shoe. I've never really been a big fan of.
So will some of the draft's top prospects. Every NFL team has the option of inviting up to 30 players to its own facility. One last chance to see how they roll.
So this is the Giants getting ready to invite players to the facility to get to know them better, to work them out, to talk to them, whatever it is they might be doing at that time. Hey, no cap, JT, the old school BKs, those things were a vibe. Does anybody remember when the Giulianos used to be like the knockoff British Knights had like the knockoff British Knights, the Giulianos back in the day? I'm showing my age. If you know about the Giulianos, then you definitely back there. Giulianos, I remember Lottos. So they're bringing in the receivers. They got Marvin Harrison Jr. in. They've got Rome Odunze in. It's interesting because they brought him in and they're actually like talking to him about concepts and things of that nature. So they've got all three of the top wide receivers in the room together. Like,
what's the break point right here, Roll? +1. +1. Minimum. If you can be +2, great. Okay. We don't got to shrink it down in there. All right. In fact, this young man's dad get to the Hall of Fame on his play. He's got more passes than any player in league history in a single season.
I think it's interesting having multiple guys that you are targeting in the same room together. You can get a sense on how competitive they are, how they interact with each other.
What's your guys' biggest need, you think, like, in addition to your team, like, character-wise and, like, locker room-wise? I know you guys need skilled players as well, but
I would say character-wise, I feel pretty good about the character of our team. I think we really take that seriously. Bringing in good people that are also good players. I would say, fit that to a team.
How would your team, like, relocate? I mean, I don't think we really necessarily relocate. My dad would come out to where we're on that when he feels the need to, or Antoine comes out whenever he got it. So it would almost be like, hey,
yeah, it's interesting that Brian Dable always seems like he's just in relaxed mode. But I mean, in fairness, he's lost a lot of weight. He looks great. I'd be chillaxing too, right? Like, because he's so fiery during the season. He's so like aggressive during the season. I think that you can't do that. You can't do that like 365 days of the year. So like I think what we're seeing is this is the reboot for Brian Dable.
But this league is tough, man. You deal with a lot of shit. You really do. Because that's the thing. It's just what makes you great. You also want to make sure it's not a distraction or affect anything negatively, whether it's in practice or like again that competitive drive. That's fucking awesome. As long as it's always channeled in the right direction.
Yeah, they're talking to Malik Neighbors, and it's weird. I don't like the way they're saying it. Like, I don't feel the need to tell a guy who's fiery that, hey, it's good, but sometimes you got to watch it. Like, no, like address it if it ever becomes an issue. But if it's no issue, why make it an issue? Coaches always use the S word, like randomly. Yeah, like I think it's interesting. Mara just asked one of the coaches, hey, if you had to draft one of them tomorrow, who you taking? He didn't hesitate. I'd take Neighbors. And then he said, hey, over Marvin. And he's like, yeah, I think that's awesome. Like, stand on your square. If you think that this is the guy, then just stand in it. Be about it. Now they're getting into quarterbacks and how much quarterbacks would cost to move up.
Washington chooses second, but is unlikely to make a deal with a division rival. The Patriots are a possible trading partner. Jaden Daniels from LSU might still be available at 3. So might North Carolina's Drake May. Maybe J.J. McCarthy from national champion Michigan. 6 is close enough to 3. The trading up might not cost the sun and the moon.
So I think it's interesting, right? We saw them go to LSU. Did they go to LSU for Daniels? Did they go to LSU for Neighbors? Or did they go to LSU because they got a chance to see both? They did not show them go to North Carolina, right? And so, like, maybe what the reason people think they moved up to Drake May because everyone believed that Jaden Daniels might be gone at 2, right? And so if you think you're gone at 2, then it makes sense that you're moving up for May if May is your 3rd guy. However, they could have stayed at 6 and took Penix, which I think would have been interesting if they really were trying to get a quarterback, right? But clearly they like Jaden Daniels. Now they're talking to Jaden Daniels in the office, them two, and once again, Brian Dable, feet up on the table, leaned back. It looks a lot better with him, chillaxing like this now that he doesn't have that giant roly-poly in the middle, right?
Feel good about being here. I feel good. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, did you get my place?
Yeah, I'm gonna draw on for you in your office.
Okay, we'll go to my office.
Daniels. Have you guys seen enough that you would trade up for him?
Daniels? Yeah, I would. Yes.
Dennis?
Yes.
That's the entire room saying that they would trade up for Daniels.
Green team, sit up. Green team, sit up. Okay. That's when the voice crack. That second hunt, that's when the voice crack.
Did you trade up for May?
You got a guy you believe in him? I think you can get him.
We did invest in Daniel. Hopefully he's healthy. The line for
Yo, this is the funny part, right? They just said, hey, would you trade up for Daniels? Everybody in the room said yes. They said, would you trade up for May? And the only person that said that they had on here, and this could be clipped that way, right, is Mike Kafka saying, if you like a guy, you move up for him. That wasn't the same rousing endorsement that we heard about Daniels.
Same coach. Tua has had a different coach. Love has had the same coach. Yep. Herbert has had multiple head coaches.
Let's go to the last 10 years of pro football. 2014, Blake Bortles, Johnny Manziel, and Teddy Bridgewater. 2015, Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota. 2016, Jared.
They're going through the history of first-round quarterbacks.
2017, Mitchell Trubisky, Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson.
18,
Baker Sam.
2017, take a Mitchell Trubisky over Mahomes and Watson's crazy.
Justin Love.
It's funny they have red next to Deshaun Watson as if Deshaun Watson wasn't successful.
How many of them hit in the last 10 years?
Are we doing this?
Not a lot.
They're talking about the hit rate at quarterback.
What do you take from that, Davis?
Take the Stroud. Or Josh.
That's funny. They're talking about the hit rate at quarterback, which I think is interesting because my summation has always been that quarterbacks are drafted way too high because they don't hit nearly as much as they should. Brian Dable smoking a cigar on FaceTime. Looks like it's his birthday. Must be nice to make that NFL head coach money, boy.
Nice little Sunday morning for you. All right. Thanks, guys. All right. Enjoy the day. Have to see you. Later.
So, like, again, another part of the thing that I liked about this Hard Knocks is seeing these guys have personal lives and personalities and show them all. Like watching Dave's down there, that's fun. That's the fun stuff.
But then he knows most everything about Big Blue.
How you feel? That is one of my favorite pictures of all time. I was probably on the side.
Mira talking to Brandon Brown. Brandon Brown has looked phenomenal in this Hard Knocks. I think this Hard Knocks has been really, really kind to everyone but Joe Shane. Joe Shane has probably looked the worst in this, in this depiction of what goes on behind the scenes. Brown has looked fantastic. I think it's only going to help his star rise.
20 years ago, Bernie Accorsi was in Joe Shane's chair and made a draft day trade for a quarterback that changed the franchise's fortunes.
They're talking about the Eli Manning draft where they gave up a bunch of stuff to draft Eli Manning. Well, to take Eli Manning because Eli Manning got drafted by the Chargers. Shout out to Ernie Accorsi, by the way.
Giants gave up a whole bunch of that, didn't they? We got hammered for giving too much. But there is no price that's too high. If you're right, you better be right.
By the way, like they gave up a lot. They weren't right. They weren't right for a lot of years. But it doesn't matter if in the end your quarterback wins one championship, then everything you did is right. That's kind of the way it goes, right? Like Eli Manning, whether you believe it was because of the defense or you believe that Eli Manning was elite, doesn't matter. He is the quarterback of record on 2 Super Bowl teams. That makes it all worth it.
Versus, you feel convicted, maybe everyone else doesn't, or the masses don't. And then once you get them, you're like, hey, this is going to be our guy for 20 years, 15 years. So some of those guys, they make it work on game day.
The deal was a win. 16 years of them, actually. 2 Super Bowl victories.
It was not 16 years of wins, as Hard Knocks would lead you to believe. It was a lot of losing, a whole lot of losing. And then there was 2 championship seasons. And even in one of those seasons, I believe, it wasn't a lot of winning in that season. Like, they barely made the playoffs. But again, when you win the trophies, that's all that matters.
One of the newest Giants, edge rusher Brian Burns. But today, he's focused on the next generation.
All right, now we're on draft day. We are on draft day. Joe Shane in his office with his wife and kid. It looks like Joe Shane, his kids, and I don't know if that's his daughter or if it's his or if it's a nanny or something. There's always this other grown woman that's there in the room. I want to say it's his daughter, maybe, or it looks like a grown woman. I don't know. Hey, if any of you know out there, if y'all are watching, Google how many kids Joe Shane has. That's funny. They're laughing because the girls want JJ McCarthy. Okay, yeah. So he has 3 kids.
I'm gonna give you here. I'm gonna just write down some names. Point to which one you want,
And this is fun, right? Like interacting with the kids, making the kids feel like they're a part of it. Like this is the part that you don't get to see. This is the humanization of these guys that all we do is see their calculated measures, but they are human beings at the end of the day.
So Marvin Harrison, Drake May, Malik Neighbors, Jerome Newton. Which one of those four?
See, so I think on draft day, they all had an understanding that Jaden Daniels was going to 2, and they were not going to be able to get up to 2. So that means that Drake May had to be the next guy they were thinking of because he's in that group of the 3 wide receivers and Drake May.
Don't be late. Come give Daddy a hug. Adios, adios. Love you.
The final scouting reports have been delivered. Joe Shane is on the spot.
Oh yeah, no, the Giant swag is
The Giants
hey, the Giant swag is fantastic, JT. Like lots of stuff that I'm like, ooh, snap, that's great. Ooh, I'm a big fan of all that stuff.
Or trade up to grab a quarterback. Weighing the risk, cost, and upside, all without the benefit of a crystal ball.
So it's just Joe Shane sitting in his office deliberating and then trying to make phone calls. Mara comes in.
Just wait. Decide when I want to call Elliot. My plan now is I was going to call him and just say, hey, I'm getting ready to go talk to John Mara, and
Mara.
I want to know, are you serious about this or just, stringing people along until you get something that's historic, which we're not going to go there, but this is consuming a lot of my time and my thoughts. And if we don't have a realistic chance, then I would just like to know. But before I go to John and try to feel him out, if I could get some sense of if it's 2025 one and what are you looking for? Like, what else are you looking for on top of that?
Believe me, if we are about to pull this deal off, I'm going to have palpitations. I got to stand by my conviction. That is, if you guys have a conviction, that's what we do. Yeah. Like 20 years.
See, I love the fact like so many New York Giants fans are killing Mara on a regular basis, right? But he has been in nothing but support of what Joe Shane has done. All he's doing is asking the questions behind the scenes because that's what he's supposed to do, right? But all of this, oh, well, he's in the way and he's the person that's pulling the trigger and I hate him and I don't want him to do this. Like a lot of it is really like you're bugging. If I own the Giants, I want to be involved in every decision or at least want to be made aware of it. Shane on the phone with Elliot Wolf.
Dr. Phil? Probably. I need to watch it.
Joe Shane has no problems lying. This is the thing that I've taken away from Hard Knocks. Joe Shane has no problems lying.
So what's going on? You guys still listening?
Yeah, so like that's the thing that I've taken away is like he has absolutely zero problems with lying at any particular time. Because he's been lying throughout all of this. Like every last one of these episodes has been Joe Shane telling lies.
Okay. All right. Well, if anything changes and you wanted to add something on that to take a swing, let me know. But just again looking at it.
Yep. And so I think they got the word. Hey, we're going to sit tight and take a quarterback.
Yeah. Right. Yep. Yeah, and that's where I just wanted to. I know the boat you're in, and I had to make it. I was trying to make it attractive.
He keeps saying that he tried to make it attractive, but that's not attractive. You know, offering the 2025 first is not attractive when you need a quarterback, right? If you think that you have the quarterback in this draft and someone says, hey, I'm going to give you a chance to trade down and then add in one more pick, that's not attractive.
Shane's task is anticipating the twists and turns every draft night presents.
Now that we know we can't go up.
So at 4:30, they knew that they could not move up.
And I'd be okay with Odets too. When I call Monty,
So it's interesting that they were good with Neighbors. They were good with Odunze. They knew Marvin Harrison was going 4. They probably knew Jaden Daniels was going 2.
they like all Latham, but if Neighbors is there, I don't know what order they had him, but he's in the mix.
I think if we got a call to go back, I didn't think that. I mean, if you don't call Rand, if Marvin goes 4, Neighbors goes 5, then I definitely won't.
So it's interesting. They were saying that if for some reason Neighbors and Rome went before they got to 6, that they would be willing to move back and give a call to the Titans to try to get a deal rolling. Offering Slayton and Aziz too, or Slayton or Aziz, I think you'd have had to give both. I think that would have been an interesting offer. I don't know if the Patriots would have been interested in a Slayton because they might feel they already have Slaytons, but Aziz would have been interesting as another pass rusher to build the depth with.
Trying to figure out how the first 5 picks are going to go, what everybody's going to do. So you're having conversations around the league. You're talking.
So right here, they're just talking about the different scenarios and how they're waiting for people and seeing what's going to shake out where, what they're going to do here, what they're going to do there. Very interesting information that was coming out. So they've got, this is them and everything that they're doing leading up to the draft. And so now they get a chance to get into the room and, everybody is suited and booted. I think this is the interesting part. All of y'all are suited up and everything just to be in a room. Hannah Burnett, the college area scout, the only woman in the room. Shout out to Hannah. She don't want to do that at all. She's got a pantsuit on. She's like, I want to put heels on. Yeah. I love that. Of course, they took it on her phone because you got to take it on the girl's phone because the girl's phone's always going to have the best camera. That's an interesting thing right there, Mike, to think about offering Daniel Jones in the package, but then you inherit Daniel Jones, right? You inherit Daniel Jones. But they've already picked up 2 other quarterbacks. So I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you. That would have been a nice offer, but it feels like that's an offer you'd have had to put on the table early, make it known so that they wouldn't have invested in the free agent quarterbacks that they invested in. And then obviously on hindsight, we know that they not only got a free agent quarterback, but then they took 2 quarterbacks. So that'll be interesting because I think the second guy that they took has more upside than the first, which is hilarious.
Joe Shane has finalized his plan. Time to share it with his bosses.
6, Jake Daniels or Drake May. I think they're both going to go 2 or 3. New England's not going to trade out of there. I think they're taking Drake May. If those 3 quarterbacks are taken, we're going to stay at 6 if Marvin Harrison or Malik Neighbors are there. We're just going to turn the card in, high five, and we're going to have a number 1 receiver. If those guys go 4 and 5, Rome is there. We like Rome. We're all fans.
Yeah, I think Coughlin always had a way of having you structured and disciplined to start with, Juan. Shout out to you. And JT, you're right. Like, they've got every scenario mapped out, but why would they not? This is a $1 billion business, right?
Back to 9. They go tackle. Tennessee's at 7. Everybody thinks they're taking the tackle. So it goes tackle, tackle. You're sitting at 8 now. They don't have an outside backer or rusher. So they're probably taking Dallas Turner or Latu from UCLA.
Yeah, it is one of those that is really interesting, because all of this stuff that was predicted by Shane, you're right. I wouldn't say it's way off Simeon, but it is slightly off. And if they had probably thought about it a little bit better, there's a chance that they could have maybe made some moves down to help, with the with the entire overall team.
All indications are if the Chargers stay, they're going to take the tackle, and we would just stay.
So they're going down, almost down like the entire first round, and how things should shake out.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. If I thought it was 100%, then I wouldn't be going in. I'd feel very confident we're just going to take the lead. Now, somebody could trade up to 5 and take the lead as well. That's a possibility. Just the team.
Shout out to Mike. Shout out to Juan. Shout out to Simeon.
JJ McCarthy going.
Ride in, I was talking to Nick, the last couple of years, give me the guys in this draft, your top 3. Like, there's 2 skill guys that are fucking problems. They were a problem, like, big time problems. First one is Malik. Fucking went off on him. And Bowers is the other one. Like, fuck, guys are problems.
So, talking about speaking to Nick Saban, and Nick Saban telling him that the 2 guys that Alabama had the most issues with, Malik Neighbors and Brock Bowers. I really would have loved to have seen Brock Bowers.
The Super Bowl to me is draft day. Everything that you've worked for, everything that everybody's worked for, all comes to fruition on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Just in terms of the player evaluation, all the information that we've gathered, the haze in the barn at this point. This is my favorite day of the year, especially day 1. I know maybe sounds cliche, but it's an honor and a privilege to be in the draft room. To me, I've always taken that with a sense of pride.
Again, we're getting to know a little bit more about the people inside the room. I think it's funny that they're all like suited and booted just to be in a room with each other. Some of the guys, some of the younger people, definitely more suited and booted than the older people are. They're a little bit more like, hey, this is old hat.
Players there. If he's smart, tough, dependable, then he's a yes makeup and a New York Giants fit.
It is always exciting though to see how this night comes together, right? Obviously it's an exciting night for all of the players, but it's also an exciting night for all of these, GM personnel, front office people who spent the entire offseason preparing for this day, and they treat it as such. I really wish that they would have cameras after this is over and show what all of these people do after the draft is over, because I'd love to see like these guys go out, have some drinks, have some fun, catch some Ubers home, that kind of stuff. But we won't see that, because for as much as this is real, it's not really real, It's edited to protect. I think that the offensive line situation's in a great place. Evan Neal showing up on the PUP list isn't surprising because he's dealing with coming off of surgery and coming off of them just being overly cautious. Like, this is the time to be cautious. This is not the time to force him back early, right? This is the time to be cautious. I don't think that this means that Evan Neal hasn't been working. Like, some people believe that because Evan Neal is on the PUP list that he hasn't been working. I think he's been working. He's been working to improve his technique, to improve the things to get better. I just don't think that he's ready to go where they feel comfortable in putting him out there and having him regress. So I'm okay with that. I don't think it's anything to be concerned with. Now, if they get to mid-August and this is still a situation, then yes, be concerned. Hey, and that's how it all shakes out, right? That's how it all shakes out. They got to the draft. They didn't show anybody being drafted, and that is the end of episode 4. What are your takeaways from episode 4? I can tell you right now, my takeaway from episode 4. Joe Schoen knows how to lie. He 100% knows how to lie. He is really good at telling people one thing and doing another thing. JT, you said that you can't see Daniels being here long term. You mean Daniel Jones? Yeah, I could see how what you saw could definitely bring that into play, right? Like, there really seems to be like this. We're gonna move on. Like we want to make it seem like we're committed, but we're really trying to move on. Like, we're trying to do anything we can to move on. They clearly didn't have enough faith in some of the other quarterbacks after the first 3 to say this is a guy that we could pull the trigger on and maybe start that process. And I'm not mad at it. If you don't have faith in the quarterbacks that are after those first 3, then don't take them. So, but I definitely look at this and go, man, Joe Schoen, Joe Shiesty. Like, that's gonna be my new name for him, Joe Shiesty. Like, that dude seems to always have some agenda underlining the agenda that he is trying to promote. Like, even the way in which he talks to the owners, like even the way in which he talks to Mara, like, he talks to him in a way that makes it seem as if he's trying to do exactly what Mara wants, right? While not wanting to do what Mara wants done. Like, you saw that play out with Saquon. You're seeing it play out in the quarterback situation. Now, do I think that Mara wants Daniel Jones? No. I think that Mara was 100% on board with them moving heaven and earth to get a quarterback. But here's the thing. He was okay with them moving heaven and earth to get a quarterback. Joe Schoen never moved heaven and earth to get the quarterback. He never put an offer out there that was so good that the Patriots had no other choice but to go, yeah, we'll do it. Right? Even if they didn't want to, even if they're like, yo, we don't have a quarterback, they could have took that haul, made another trade to get back up into a spot where they could have taken a quarterback if they wanted to. Or they could have just been like, hey, we'll kick the can down the line for a year. 2025, we'll revisit it again. We've got a veteran in who we think can get the job done. No. Or they could have just taken the project that they took in the late rounds. But he didn't give them an offer that they couldn't refuse. And when you're trying to move up for a quarterback, you can't lowball the offer. This is now a few times that we've seen Joe Shane trying to negotiate lowballing the offer. It worked out with Brian Burns, right? It worked out with Brian Burns, even though they still had to pay him a boatload of money. It hasn't worked out anywhere else with the lowballing of the offer for a talent. So I think that's interesting. It was people said it like it was going to be super exciting. Like all of the stuff was, hey, this episode is going to be super exciting. I don't know if it was super exciting, but it really was informative, right? It was informative. I really enjoyed it. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure that you check out A Giant Issue tomorrow. I'm telling you, I got some heat coming as we get ready to open up training camp. Like, I know that training camp used to be really, really fun to talk about, like, as it opened up, but it's not really fun anymore because most of these practices are non-padded practices, which means they're just shirts and helmets types of practices. It's hard to really get a gauge on like who's advancing, who's doing well, who's not doing well when they're not in pads. So, like, I think that's one thing. Like, it takes away some of the luster of what training camp used to be, because in training camp they used to hit, like they used to be at it all the time. But make sure you check that out tomorrow. Make sure that you check out all the information, all of the stories, all of the content that we put out on New York Giants on SI8. To everybody that has popped in tonight, Simeon, Mike, JT, thanks for hanging out the entire time. We really do appreciate it. Juan, thank you for popping in. We appreciate you. We will see you all next time. Until then, I am Coach Gene Clemons. Y'all have a fantastic night.